Lieutenant Colonel Sudhir with Major Aditya flying the second Apache.
उसके ठीक पीछे BMP-2 और नाग मिसाइल प्रणाली।
Lieutenant Arjun with her ship of 6 Lancers.
कर्तव्य पथ पर निगरानी
Suryastra and the BrahMos weapon system.
This Republic Day, India's military might made a statement unlike any before. Tejas jets carved streaks across the sky. Arjun tanks rolled with precision, and BrahMos missiles underscored a nation producing its own strategic firepower. Indigenous artillery, rockets, and advanced defense systems are no longer ambitions on paper. They are operational realities showcasing a defense ecosystem that India now owns from design to deployment. As the nation marks its 77th year of sovereignty, can India's leap from importer to innovator truly redefine its military strength and secure its place as a global defense power? Hello and welcome. You're watching Statecraft with me, Geeta Mohan. What does a Republic Day parade really communicate in today's strategic environment? Is it tradition or is it doctrine made visible? On India's 77th Republic Day, the weapons that rolled down Kartavya Path were not chosen for spectacle, they were chosen for messaging. Each platform told a story about where India's military comes from and where it is going. You see, military parades reveal as much about political culture as they do about armed forces. China's Victory Day parade on the 3rd of September is designed as a demonstration of scale and intimidation. Long columns of missiles, massed formations, and tightly choreographed symbolism meant to project industrial and authoritarian power. The United States 2025 Army Parade under President Trump, by contrast, appeared disjointed, heavy on spectacle, light on strategic messaging, reflecting a politicized show of force rather than doctrinal clarity. India's Republic Day parade sits apart from both. It is neither intimidation nor improvisation. It is calibrated signaling, combining ceremony with capability, restraint with confidence. Republic Day parades have always doubled as strategic signaling. During the Cold War, they showcased imported strength. This year, the emphasis was unmistakably indigenous. The light combat aircraft Tejas, the Akash air defense system, Arjun main battle tank, and the advanced towed artillery gun system ATAGS were not simply on display, they were positioned as symbols of a structural shift. Let's take Tejas first. For decades, India's air power depended almost entirely on foreign fighters. Tejas represents a break from that cycle. The Light Combat Aircraft program was born after sanctions exposed India's vulnerability. It took time and criticism, but Tejas delivered something no import ever could: design ownership.
When you see the battlefield, India used a lot of made in India weapons even during Operation Sindoor. So whether it's the use of our integrated air defense system, which has the Akash surface to air missile, integrated with some of the longer range weapons, there's a perfect integration of made in India weapons and of course some of the foreign made imports. So from Akash to Barak 8, to the S-400s. It was a layered system which effectively defended Indian skies from Pakistani attacks. But now when you look at India's offensive capabilities, they were predominantly either the Su-30 MKIs and the BrahMos supersonic cruise missiles, which is India-Russia partnership, licensed production in India, or of course the Rafale 2000s, which are French aircraft, but increasingly we are told with a bigger deal, you will have the fuselage and several other components that will be made in India in times to come. But when you look at the overall system, a lot of Atmanirbhar Bharat, especially in terms of the drones, the missiles, you saw the Suryastra, you saw those drones, the drone Shakti, the unmanned aerial vehicles, the unmanned ground vehicles. So there is a lot of made in India equipment that's now coming into the Indian Armed Forces to make India future ready for conflict.
Flight control software, composite airframes, avionics integration, radar fusion. These are capabilities that define aerospace sovereignty. Tejas on Republic Day was not about numbers, it was about knowledge. Akash and Pinaka speak to land warfare. Akash provides layered air defense against aircraft, drones, and missiles, threats central to both Chinese and Pakistani doctrines. Pinaka, developed after operational lessons from Kargil, gives India rapid, high-volume precision firepower. These systems are designed around Indian terrain, Indian logistics, and Indian operational realities. ATAGS and Arjun complete the picture. ATAGS signals the entry of Indian private industry into core war-fighting systems. Arjun, despite debates around its deployment, reflects India's ability to design heavy armor suited to specific theatres. Together, these platforms show that India is no longer dependent on a single foreign supply line for land warfare. To understand why this shift matters, we must look backward at India's defense partnerships over the decades. Above all, the partnership with Russia. After independence, India faced immediate security threats with limited industrial capacity. Western suppliers were inconsistent, often constrained by politics. Soviet Union filled that vacuum, not ideologically, but reliably. Over time, Russia became the backbone of Indian military power. This was not dependency born of laziness. It was necessity. MiG and Sukhoi fighters dominated Indian skies. T-series tanks formed armored divisions, submarines, artillery, missiles. Entire doctrines were built around Russian platforms. Even India's nuclear deterrent rests partly on Russian-assisted submarine programs. Russia stood by India when others did not. But dependence carries strategic cost. Upgrades required approvals. Spares depended on geopolitical stability. Sanctions elsewhere created cascading vulnerabilities. India could fight wars, but it could not fully control sustainment. Over time, this became untenable for a country facing two nuclear-armed adversaries. India's response was not rupture, it was evolution. Licensed production, technology transfer, co-development. This is where the India-Russia relationship changed character, from buyer-seller to strategic enabler. And the most important outcome of that evolution is BrahMos. BrahMos is not just a missile, it is a turning point. Jointly developed by India and Russia, BrahMos moved beyond licensed assembly. It created shared intellectual ownership. And now, with the BrahMos production unit in Lucknow, it has entered a new phase, domestic mass production. The Lucknow facility is designed to manufacture up to 100 supersonic cruise missiles per year. That figure matters. It transforms BrahMos from a limited inventory strategic weapon into a sustained deterrence asset. India can now replenish stocks, deploy across multiple theatres, and plan operations without foreign production bottlenecks. This also reframes the India-Russia relationship. Russia is no longer just supplying India, it is embedded in India's industrial ecosystem. BrahMos demonstrates how Atmanirbhar Bharat actually works. Not isolation, but absorption. Not rejection of partners, but deeper integration. And nowhere does indigenous capability matter more than on the Western front against Pakistan. Pakistan's military doctrine has never been built around conventional parity with India. It is built around asymmetry, the use of terror proxies, calibrated provocation, limited war under a nuclear overhang, and constant signaling aimed at internationalizing conflict. For decades, this model relied on deniability. Militant groups, terrorist groups acting as extensions of the state, while Pakistan projected itself as a victim of instability. But that doctrine has evolved. In recent years, Pakistan has increasingly shifted its conventional arsenal toward Chinese weapon systems, from JF-17 fighter aircraft and HQ series air defense systems to naval platforms and surveillance technologies. This dependency reflects both necessity and alignment. Western platforms are constrained. Indigenous capacity is limited. China fills the gap economically, militarily, and politically. This shift was evident after the Pahalgam terror attack, where India relied on domestically developed surveillance and operational capabilities to neutralize threats rather than resorting to symbolic escalation. During Operation Sindoor, India decimated terror hubs in Pakistan, whereas Pakistan solely relied on Chinese-made weapons. Indian-made systems directly challenged that model. Indigenous artillery, air defense, ISR, and strike systems give India escalation control. They allow calibrated responses without external pressure. This was evident in recent counter-terror and security operations, including those referred to as Operation Sindoor. While details remain classified, the implications are clear. Indian integrated surveillance, communications, and precision systems reduced decision cycles and increased operational tempo. Pakistan's military infrastructure and proxy networks faced sustained pressure without India being constrained by foreign supply considerations. This is the quiet power of indigenous capability. If Pakistan is the operational test case, China is the strategic benchmark. China's military power is inseparable from its defense industrial scale. The PLA does not just field weapons, it produces them in depth. Tanks, artillery, missiles, drones, aircraft, manufactured to sustain long conflicts. India's greatest vulnerability against China was never manpower, it was production depth. Indigenous manufacturing addresses that gap. Tejas builds aerospace competence. Akash and Pinaka counter massed missile and artillery threats. ATAGS strengthens mountain warfare. BrahMos complicates Chinese operational planning along the LAC. This is not about matching China platform for platform. It is about outsmarting, integrating weapons suited to terrain, logistics, and escalation control. Indigenous production gives India upgrade freedom and wartime resilience, something imports can never guarantee. Atmanirbhar Bharat does not mean disengagement from the world. India today maintains a diversified defense partnership network. Russia, France, the United States, Israel, and others. Each relationship serves a specific strategic purpose, and nowhere is that shift clearer than India's ongoing discussions over the Rafale fighter jet. India's proposed plan to acquire 114 Rafale fighter aircraft for the Indian Air Force is no longer being viewed as a simple purchase. Instead, it is emerging as a potential manufacturing and sustainment partnership, one that could fundamentally alter how advanced combat aircraft are produced and maintained in India.
When I was covering the Kargil conflict in 1999, and if I may take you back, 1998, India carried out the Pokhran nuclear tests and there were sanctions that were imposed on India. Now, the entire Sea King and Sea Harrier fleet of the Indian Air Force and the Indian Navy and a lot of other components, so Sea Harriers and Sea Kings of the Indian Navy, a lot of other components were no longer given to India by the West. The Sea King and Sea Harrier fleet was completely grounded. Western-made equipment comes with a lot of sanctions or conditions applied. Whereas with France and Russia, the reliability, as history has shown us, has been tremendous. So, for example, if we were to talk about the French, you had the Mirage 2000 fighter jets, which incidentally were also used in Balakot bombing of Pakistan. France permits you to use those weapons and systems once you bought them. The deal with Russia, again, the kind of technology transfers and the deals that you've had, whether it's on taking a nuclear submarine on lease or submarine technology, shipbuilding technology, other weapons and systems, fighter planes, from a first supersonic fighter jet, the MiG-21, to the Su-30 MKIs that you're making now with the BrahMos supersonic cruise missiles, reliability factor is much more. Western equipment, well, just for example, a Su-30 has about 55% to 60% serviceability and maintenance. A Rafale they advertise about 85% of serviceability. With the Americans, you have to be a little careful. Look at the GE404 engines, for example. Our LCA project has repeatedly suffered for whatever reason because the GE404 engines were not available when needed.
Moreover, French aerospace major Dassault Aviation and India's Tata Advanced Systems Limited have signed 4 agreements to jointly manufacture the fuselage of Rafale fighter aircraft in India. This will mark production of the critical component for the first time outside France. All of this just shows that India's approach now is selective acquisition combined with indigenous absorption. So what did the 77th Republic Day really show? It showed a country that has learned from dependence, preserved partnerships, built industrial depth, and begun exporting power, not just consuming it. From importer to innovator is not a slogan. It is the result of decades of strategic correction. And in a world of contested supply chains and converging threats, that correction may be India's most important defense achievement yet. Thank you for watching Statecraft.